What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here with my good friend, Riley Hulbert. How you doing, Riley?
I'm doing so good, Andrew. How are you today?
I'm doing great because I'm stoked to play some Pokemon cards. We're going to be showing off some of our decks from the Dallas Regional Championships in 2018. It was a pretty special tournament, Riley. You got any fond memories of that particular event?
I sure do. Dallas was not only my second ever day 2, but it was my regional championship that I ended up taking home with my Zoroark GX deck.
Now, I didn't do too shabby at this event either. I finished 9th place with my Buzzwole GX Lycanroc GX deck, and I bubbled out a top cut. So we never actually got to play. You were too far at the top tables. I couldn't quite catch up to you. So the whole event, I finished 9th, you won, but we never actually got to play.
That's right. Unfortunately so, just a few points of resistance would have swung you up as the 8th seed versus my 1st seed. And I think today we're going to recreate that scenario and figure out in that parallel universe what might have happened.
Exactly. So say in a different timeline where I actually finished in the top 8, Riley and I would have played in
right then
top
and there.
8. History could have been different. And today we're going to find out if maybe in my wildest dreams, history was different on that regional weekend. I'm really excited about this matchup because I'm going to get to play one of my favorite decks of all time, Buzzwole GX, Lycanroc GX. These two fighting-type Pokemon formed one of the strongest fighting-type decks of all time. Buzzwole GX has a whopping 190 hit points and 3 great attacks. Its first attack, Jet Punch, does 30 damage to the defending Pokemon and 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon for just 1 fighting energy. Knuckle Impact for 3 fighting energy does 160 damage, with the drawback being, during your next turn, this Pokemon cannot attack. And then Absorption GX for 3 fighting energy does 40 damage for each of your remaining prize cards. Lycanroc GX is not only a backup attacker, but also a great gusting card. It's got the Bloodthirsty Eyes ability, which allows you to bring one of your opponent's bench Pokemon into the active spot when you evolve your Rockruff into Lycanroc GX. Lycanroc GX's attacks are also really strong. Dangerous Rogue GX for a fighting and a colorless energy does 50 damage times the amount of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And then Claw Slash for a fighting and 2 colorless does 110 damage. These two Pokemon work great together. I think Riley's going to have a tough time dealing with my aggressive Buzzwole GX, Lycanroc GX in this matchup.
And across from Andrew's Buzzwole Lycanroc deck, I will be rocking the Zoroark GX deck. The Zoroark GX is a complete powerhouse in this expanded format, with its Riotous Beating attack doing 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in play. And thanks to another card in this deck, the Skyfield, you can quickly ramp up those Pokemon all the way up to 9 for 180 damage. Slap a Choice Band on that, and you're doing 210 for 1 energy attachment with a double colorless energy. Zoroark also has built-in consistency with its trade ability, allowing you to discard a card from your hand to draw 2 cards for each of your Zoroark in play. I'm hoping that I'll be able to overcome my weakness and run Andrew off the table here.
Riley, would you like heads or tails?
You know I'm a heads guy.
Heads it is. Sounds good.
All right.
Good luck, Riley.
And also have fun.
Ooh, the Shaman EX starts.
Very famous starter. I'll go ahead and draw for turn, and I guess that is something. I'll attach a double colorless to my Shaman EX. I'll go ahead and use a red card.
Ooh.
And play a Hex Maniac.
Whoa!
And then I'll Puzzle of Time. So with playing 1 Puzzle of Time, not as exciting as the 2, but I get to look at the top 3 cards in my deck and put them back in any order. So basically, I get to stack my deck from the top 3, and from those, I'm going to pick the card that hopefully lets me play the game a little bit more from here. Meanwhile, Andrew's going to shuffle his hand and draw 4 off the red card. It's an item card that has an incredibly powerful disruptive effect. So Andrew has to shuffle his hand into the deck, draw 4 cards, and with the Hex Maniac, he won't have access to his abilities on the following turn.
That is a rough way to start for sure.
And with that, it is your go.
I am starting with a pretty good 5-card hand, actually. First things first, I am going to play down my Brooklet Hill. I'm going to attach a fighting energy to my Lucario EX and use Brooklet Hill to search my deck for, I think, a fighting type Pokemon. I think I'm going to search out a Rockruff, and I want to get Rockruff onto my bench because Rockruff can evolve into Lycanroc GX, and then Lycanroc GX is going to be able to use its Bloodthirsty Eyes ability to chase down one of Riley's Zoruas next turn. I'm going to use Max Elixir. Lets me look at the top 6 cards of my deck. If I find a basic fighting energy, I can attach it to one of my bench Pokemon. It's a swing and a miss, unfortunately. And then I'm going to play N. So we'll each get 6 cards off of the N.
1 for each of our remaining prize cards.
I see no reason not to bench Carbink. And I'm going to go for a second Max Elixir. I would really like to get a fighting energy onto my Rockruff. Ooh.
Very nice.
The last card. Max Elixirs were very popular during this era. And nothing brings me back like missing a Max Elixir.
Oh, yeah. That was part of it.
Now, finally, I'm going to attach Choice Band to my Lucario EX. And Lucario EX can use Missile Jab for 60 damage, as it is not affected by resistance.
Shaman does resist that fighting type, which can come in handy, but Lucario, of course, can go through that. I do have a fairly decent hand here, so I'm going to play that Ultra Ball. Probably just get rid of some supporters. I do play the 4 VS Seeker, which makes it relatively easy to get them back into my hand, and look for almost certainly a Tapu Lele, so I can use that Brigette. Brigette is a card very similar to Gloria if you play a lot of Gym Leader Challenge, and Brigette as well being a staple in the Gym Leader Challenge, where you can search for 3 basic Pokemon except for Pokemon EX and put them directly onto your bench. One weird nuance of Brigette around this time frame was Pokemon GX are technically not Pokemon EX, so you can search those out, but I'm going to most likely just go for the consistent play of getting my Zoruas onto the bench, so I can start attacking more meaningfully on the next turn of the game. So going to attach that Choice Band, like Andrew said, doing 30 more damage. Debating whether or not to use the Puzzle of Time in my hand to be able to potentially stack my deck, but I think I'll just go ahead and use that Sky Return. So 60 damage with the Choice Band, and I'll just go ahead and promote a single prize Zorua.
I'm going to draw for turn, and that is an incredible top deck. We have got Computer Search. Wow, what a phenomenal card. Now I'm going to Computer Search, basic fighting energy, and my Rescue Stretcher, and search my deck for any card that I want. So I'll get the Professor Sycamore off of the Computer Search, attach Strong Energy to my Lucario EX, and play Professor Sycamore. Discard my hand and draw 7 cards. In this matchup, Sudowoodo is really good. Its Roadblock ability makes it so that Riley can't have more than 4 benched Pokemon, and Riley's deck tries to bench as many Pokemon as possible so that Riotous Beating can deal 1-hit KO damage. I'll also bench Remoraid. I will also bench Buzzwole GX. I will use Corkscrew Smash, and it allows you to draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. A nice little consistency booster. I can't tell you how many times I was bailed out of a dead hand by Lucario EX's Corkscrew Smash. We'll also take a prize.
So with that, I'll promote another Zorua, and I'll go ahead and draw for turn. So first things first, I'll of course evolve my Zoroark GX, and I'll go ahead and attach the double colorless energy as well as that Choice Band from the previous turn. So even with Roadblock in play, I can reach 130 damage, which will be able to knock out this Lucario EX. So pretty huge there for me. I'll also go ahead and just immediately use the setup ability, debating whether or not to use the Puzzle of Time, but I think I'd rather keep it for now and draw up to 6. So I'll just go ahead and bench that Grimer. That's going to be my max bench thanks to that roadblock Sudowoodo. And then I'll go ahead and start trading with my Zoroarks. So trade will discard a card from my hand and I'll draw 2 more. And I think I'll go ahead now and discard this Puzzle of Time for trade. And I think I'll also trade away this Ultra Ball, drawing 2 more cards. And with that, I'm feeling pretty good with how I'm doing here. So I'll use a VS Seeker to get a supporter out of my discard pile. I'll choose again to get that Hex Maniac. I'll play it so Andrew does not have access to abilities on his next turn. And I'll go ahead and use Riot Speeding for 130 damage to knock out your Lucario.
Lucario goes down, and I will promote Rockruff. Draw for turn. Thankfully, I was able to find a Lycanroc GX. Now, unfortunately, that Bloodthirsty Eyes ability is turned off, but it doesn't really matter because I am going to be attacking the active.
Seems reasonable.
Attach a basic fighting energy to my Lycanroc GX. I will Ultra Ball, discarding Tapu Lele GX and Colress. Off of the Ultra Ball, I'm going to find Octillery. I'm going to bench Rockruff, and then I will play N. N is a great consistency card and disruptor in this format. I can set Riley's hand to just 4 cards, and I myself will get to draw 5. I will be able to use my own Dangerous Rogue GX attack, which does 50 damage for each of my opponent's bench Pokemon. So that's 200 damage times 2 because of Zoroark GX's fighting weakness, and I will take 2 prize cards.
So Andrew's surging off now to a lead of his own, and it's up to me to respond. I think I'm just going to go ahead and start off by default with a quick special charge, get the double colorless energy from my discard back into my deck. I do have the Puzzle of Time that I would really like to keep, especially if I need access to another Choice Band or something like that. That's going to be an essential combo piece here, but I think to some extent I may have to just take the loss there. So I think I will do that. And depending on the cards that I see, I may opt to use the Brooklet Hill to then shuffle my deck. So looking at the top 3 though, I do see a computer search. That seems really tempting. And so overall, I think this is an acceptable set of cards. So I'll keep those there and then use Shaman's setup ability to draw 4 cards. So seeing the 3 that I had off of the Puzzle of Time and then 1 additional one, I'm going to go ahead and use computer search, get rid of my Pokemon Ranger and my Zoroark with the Foul Play attack. And just like Andrew, I'll search for any 1 card out of my deck. Now the card that I'm looking for, of course, will be Colress. Drawing up to 9 cards seems pretty good when you're looking for a pretty elaborate combo here. I can Field Blower away the Brooklet Hill. I'll Field Blower away the Brooklet Hill here. And with that, I'll play the Colress to shuffle my hand into my deck and draw 9 cards, 1 for each of those benched Pokemon there. So let's see what I hit here off of that Colress. I actually hit quite a few of the combo pieces that I might need, but not all of them here. I'm going to go ahead and start off by playing the Sky Field. I will play an Ultra Ball and search for a Pokemon to put into my hand. I don't think Andrew will be able to easily respond if I take this knockout, so I'm going to be greedy and discard the Zoroark and the VS Seeker to get an Execute into my hand. So I'll use Zoroark's trade ability, discarding the Execute to draw 2 cards. And those are not the 2 cards that I'm looking for here. So this is going to be a tough situation to close out this game, but not altogether impossible. Before I do anything else, I will use Propagation to take Execute from the discard pile, put it into my hand here. I'll use an Ultra Ball as well to discard the Execute as well as VS Seeker. I'd really love to keep that VS Seeker, but I think I need every single other card in my hand. And with that Ultra Ball, I'll go ahead and grab a Zorua. And with this, I feel like I've assembled as close as I can get. Was really just a Choice Band away. Use that Propagation one more time, put it into my hand, and then I'll use the Power of Alchemy ability on this Alolan Muck to be able to fill my bench up to 8 with the Sky Field once more. And then the last card in my hand will be that double colorless energy, and I'll use the Riotous Beating attack. Now with a full bench, I swing for 180 damage, so not quite a knockout on that Lycanroc, but at least giving me a reasonable path to victory for next turn in terms of knocking it out.
That's such a crazy turn, dude. I mean, look at that. With the Muck in play, Sudowoodo's roadblock ability turned off, Skyfield, a bench of 8. Wow, that escalated quickly. Thank goodness you missed that choice band. I'll draw for turn. I'm going to use Ultra Ball to find my favorite card in the deck. Carbink Break. What a magnificent card. They don't make evolutions like this anymore, guys. We can evolve my Carbink into Carbink Break. I'm going to use Lycanroc GX's Bloodthirsty Eyes ability to bring up your bench Zorua. I'm going to attach a Strong Energy to my Carbink Break. I am going to counter your Skyfield with Brooklet Hill, so you'll have to discard down to 5 bench Pokemon. I will attach a Choice Band to my Buzzwole, and I'll use Abyssal Hand to draw 4 cards. If I find a Float Stone here, I'm going to be able to establish 2 strong attackers to try and close the game out with. Sure enough, we were able to find the Float Stone. Float Stone can give my Lycanroc GX free retreats. I don't have a supporter card right now, but that's okay, because all I need is Carbink Break. We're going to send our brave Carbink into the active spots, and I can use Diamond Gift, which does 20 damage plus 20 more damage because of the buff from Strong Energy to do 40 damage, and it allows me to attach 2 energy cards from my discard pile to one of my fighting Pokemon, and I am definitely going to accelerate the Strong Energy and the Fighting Energy to my bench Buzzwole GX and take a prize.
Pretty unlikely that I'll be able to scrape together a victory from here, but we'll give it our best shot. An N is a great way to start, so I'll go ahead and attach that energy and play the N. Putting Andrew down to 2 cards, of course, is super good, although Octillery provides great insurance against the N, allowing Andrew to refill up to 5, and just a single energy card at this point will allow Andrew to knock out my Zoroark GX for game in game number 1. I'll go ahead and play a Tapu Lele. Cannot use that ability thanks to the power of Alchemy, but it will get me to the 120 damage to knock out that Carbink Break and go down to 3 prizes remaining.
We will promote Buzzwole GX, draw our card, attach a Fighting Energy, and use Knuckle Impact for 210 damage times 2, 420 damage.
More than enough to knock out a Zoroark GX.
Yes, and that is game 1.
So I will go first in the game number 2 here. Still think it's optimal to go first, especially if you can get that Brigette on the first turn. Gives you so much flexibility over the course of a game.
Good luck.
To you as well. I am starting the Execute, which is not a great starter Pokemon for this deck, but we'll see if we can make something of it with a top deck. And that is an amazing top deck to see here. That Ultra Ball will allow me to get that Tapu Lele, so I can use the Brigette on the first turn of the game. So looking through my deck here, seeing kind of what pieces I have available to me over the course of the game. Of course, that main combo I'll be searching for is the Tapu Lele for the Brigette. Played 3 Tapu Lele and 2 Brigette to really maximize the odds of seeing it in those early turns. And we're seeing that come to fruition here. So I'll go ahead and use that Wonder Tag ability. Lets me search my deck for a supporter card. And with that, I'll grab, of course, the classic Brigette. Now here, because I'm at a little less threat than I was in the previous game, I am contemplating whether or not I want to get my Zoruas down or maybe get an early Grimer. And I think I am going to opt for that Grimer just so I can just, right out of the gates, threaten the Power of Alchemy ability with my Alolan Muck and not have to worry about Sudowoodo through the rest of the game. So with that, I'm feeling pretty good about my situation here, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you.
I'm going to draw for turn. So we're going to Ultra Ball away 2 basic Fighting Energy and take a look through my deck. Off the Ultra Ball, I am going to choose to get Remoraid, actually. I'm going to attach a Strong Energy to Rockruff, keeping the Fighting Energy in my deck so that I have some chance of hitting my max elixirs, and I'll play N. We each get 6. I find a Sudowoodo with its Roadblock ability, which can stop Riley from benching any more Pokemon, and then I will use Corner to try and stick this execute in the active spot.
Awesome play by Andrew here. I'm going to draw for turn. And I do get a pretty powerful draw in that Zoroark GX. I'll go for that Battle Compressor to start myself off here. And first things first, I'm going to want to go ahead and grab a execute out of my deck. I do have that second copy available to me, so that way I can immediately pop it back into my hand for use with trade. So I'll go ahead and Battle Compressor away a double colorless energy and a Guzma. Not typically the targets you would see off a Battle Compressor, but it makes sense in this specific instance.
Yeah, you got double puzzle in your hand, huh?
Yeah, I will go ahead and immediately use Propagation to get that execute back into my hand and trade it away before I use those Puzzle of Times, just to see if that would impact any of my choices this turn. And I'll go ahead and use that double Puzzle of Time. So now I can grab the two cards that I needed the most, the double colorless energy and the Guzma, being able to kind of circumvent the play that Andrew was going for, or at least make it a little more awkward that he went for that corner, because now I'm going to take a knockout. Now there is some internal debate in my mind whether I want to go for that Remoraid or that Sudowoodo. I think just taking the Remoraid out of play will ultimately be the highest value on the upcoming turns here. So I'll go ahead and Guzma, swapping the active Pokemon. So I'll use that Propagate one more time and Computer Search as my 5th Ultra Ball this game. Get rid of Execute and a Field Blower. So I can go ahead and search for any card, but that card will just be a Zoroark GX.
And we're really seeing the value of this execute now as you bring it back from your discard pile for the 3rd time this turn.
That's right, and I'll go ahead and use trade one more time to just draw a few more cards. Those are some pretty powerful ones, and I'll take the knockout with Riotous Beating.
Remoraid gets KO'd. I'll promote Rockruff and draw for turn. So we're going to evolve into Lycanroc GX, and I'm not going to use the Bloodthirsty Eyes ability because I want to target down the active with the energy on it. I'm going to attach a basic fighting energy from my hand to Lycanroc GX. I'm going to play N.
So I'll go ahead and draw 5.
And I get 6. I can use Rescue Stretcher to bring that Remoraid back from the discard pile and put it onto my bench. I will bench Buzzwole GX as a backup attacker. I will use Dangerous Rogue GX to take the knockouts and get 2 prizes.
All right, so now it's up to me to respond again to that Lycanroc GX. I'm going to draw for turn, draw that Foul Play Zoroark, which isn't going to be too useful for me here. I'm going to start off by attaching that Choice Band and using a Tapu Lele GX. Now I do actually have both of my Colress in my hand here, but I want to be able to have another Pokemon onto my bench, so that way I can get more value out of the Colress that I do have in my hand. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab a Brigette, put it in my hand off that Wonder Tag ability, and I'll go ahead and play the Skyfield and a Colress. So 8 more cards here, as well as a trade. Need to find a double colorless energy, a Muck, another few Pokemon to be able to fill out my bench. So 8 cards off that Colress into my hand here, and wow, that is a brutal set of cards to draw here. I think I will go ahead and trade away the Brigette because I don't want that anymore. And 1 card that's relatively useful, and the rest aren't going to serve me so well here. And this is a really tough situation because I don't have a great way to keep going from here. So I will start by using that Execute and playing an Ultra Ball for turn here. Discarding the Execute, and most likely just going to be discarding... Well, actually, the Foul Play could come pretty useful here. So I'm going to discard a VS Seeker. And with that, I want to make sure I have another Zorua into play for next turn. If I can't take the knockout now, maybe I can take it later with a different Zorua. I'm running a little bit low on the Zorua department now. My last one is prized. That at least gives me a shot here. From here, I'll just want to go ahead and grab that Execute. Zorua is in my hand. Activate the Alolan Muck to turn off Sudowoodo and bench this Zorua. And my goal will be to next turn take that knockout. Unfortunately for this turn, I will have to pass over to Andrew.
This is a really big turn. This turn was kind of going to be the cornerstone of this match. If Riley takes this knockout, goes to 3 prizes, and I have no response cooked up right now. So we were really hoping that taking Riley's trade out last turn limited his options with this response. And thankfully, that is what occurred. Can draw for turn I'll attach a Strong Energy to Lycanroc GX, Computer Search away a Sycamore and Ultra Ball, which is very funny because it's basically Ultra Balling away Sycamore and Computer Search.
Because you're searching for a Pokemon?
Because I'm looking for a Pokemon.
I'm saying that Octillery will, of course, give Andrew consistent draw over the course of the game, which is really all he's looking for at this point, is to not brick from here.
And play Colress as my supporter for turn will allow me to draw 9 cards. I've attached for turn, but I can use Max Elixir.
Andrew has gotten rid of a few energy at this point, so not necessarily likely that he did a Max Elixir, but still want to play him as you see him. Definitely don't want to wait from here.
Nope. Yep, trying to get some value out of those Max Elixirs. If I can hit 1 or 2, I'll be okay, I think. Ultra Ball away, Choice Band and Guzma. And I actually want to set up the lowest maintenance attacker that can finish off this game for me. And that attacker is Lucario EX. I will attach Choice Band to my Lucario EX. I will attach Float Stone to my Octillery, and then I will use Abyssal Hand to draw 2 cards. And with that, I've already attached for turn. I will use Claw Slash for 150 damage times 2 because of weakness, 300 damage in the knockouts.
So I'll draw for turn to start things off. First things first, we'll evolve that Zoroark GX. And we're going to go ahead and start drawing cards out of our deck. So we'll Ultra Ball away that Zoroark as well as the Skyfield. And really just want to get basic Pokemon into play at this point. Doesn't necessarily matter which one it is. Mainly just don't want it to be at this point a basic Zorua, so that way I'm not vulnerable to a Jet Punch double knockout. So that Seismitoad, nice and bulky. They'll do the job just fine. I am also unable to bench my second Execute because I really don't want to put that into play for the same reason. So I'm forced to go ahead and Colress here for now 10 cards for myself. So I have a Sudowoodo to put onto my bench. Really, Double Puzzle is kind of the 2 cards I would need at this point to bail me out of this situation. So I'll go ahead and trade, discarding the Karen and drawing 2 cards, drop Pokemon Ranger and an Execute, and I don't think that'll be enough. Unfortunately short on the damage department. I can, however, try and be a little bit tricky, use a Float Stone on that Zoroark, and double colorless my Seismitoad EX. Andrew has a pretty sizable hand, so I'll go ahead and red card it as well, reducing that hand size to 4. And we'll go in with everybody's favorite, the Quaking Punch. Now
when in doubt, Quaking Punch. I get 4 cards, and I draw my top deck for turn. And sure enough, I am able to find Lycanroc GX to use Bloodthirsty Eyes to bring up the Zoroark GX and Claw Slash for the game.
Excellent stuff. Really showcasing the power of that Buzzwole Lycanroc deck into these fighting weak matchups.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that, unfortunately, your deck didn't really have the turn 1, turn 2s that you really want out of that Zoroark deck to be able to compete with a deck that's hitting you for weakness.
Yeah, in these kind of matchups, you need to be setting up very quickly, and I really wasn't able to quite get there. Those early game ends put me in really awkward hands, which is one of the powers of having those early game ends is, you get to continually spin the wheel on your opponent and see what happens.
Yes, and you have Abyssal Hand, so you don't really care. You're just like grinding, and putting pressure on with Lycanroc GX, Bloodthirsty Eyes, targeting down exactly what you want to hit on your opponent's side of the board. I really love this deck. It is simple in a way. When you look at the deck lists side by side, they are 2 vastly different expanded decks, but they create some really good games together. So I was really excited to get to play that best of 3, and thank you so much, Riley, for humoring me.
Oh, of course.
But as we know, history will say I bubbled out of top 8 at 9th place at this regional championship, so this match never occurred.